What's up, baby? This is Deontay the Bronze Rumble Wilder. Make sure you tap into Black Authentic Truth for your latest news. It's great information, baby. Bomb Squad!
Hey, what's good, y'all? It's the Walker Bar for Black Authentic Truth. Thank you for rocking with me. Thank you for supporting me. Now, I got the police report from the Frisco department. They released it with the case of Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. And it's some stuff in here, man, that we already knew. 4/2/2025 at 1001 hours, I, Stanley, School Resource Officer E. Cortez, heard over the radio dispatch call out a stabbing call at David Kurenthal Stadium. FPD called notes indicate that an athlete was stabbed. The suspect was reported as being black male, wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. I immediately left my office and ran across the Stanley Middle School parking lot towards a southwest entrance into the stadium. As I entered the stadium, two high school age students informed me that the victim was on the north end of the stadium by the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent. I did not identify these students. Next, I proceeded towards the north end of the stadium, the visitor side, on foot. As I got closer to the north end, I could see the Memorial High School tent with multiple individuals under the tent. Once I arrived onto the north side bleachers, an adult male who was on the track pointed out the suspect. I was not able to identify that witness. The individual that was pointed out to me was a black male wearing a gray hooded sweater, and dark colored Nike pants. The suspect at this point was on the track on the north end. There was a chain link fence that separated me from the suspect. I gave the suspect instructions to keep his hands up in the air. During this time, the suspect said verbally out loud, "I was protecting myself." It should be noted that I had not questioned him about the incident when he made the comment. I asked him if he had any weapons and he said no. I patted him down for weapons while we were walking along the fence, and I did not locate any on his person. I instructed the male to continue walking along the fence, which he complied, towards an area where there was an opening in the fence that led off the track. While walking him on the track, the suspect also said he put his hands on me. I then detained the suspect in handcuffs. I handcuffed him behind his back and had him sit down on the ground. Officer A. Reese had arrived on the scene at that time. I conducted another pat down of his person and then searched his person after he gave me consent. No weapons were located. While the suspect sat on the ground, I advised that I had the alleged suspect. The suspect then responds and says, "I'm not alleged. I did it." Next, Officer Reese and I walked the suspect to patrol vehicle 2412. It says, which was on the northeast gate of the stadium. As we were walking to the squad car, the suspect was emotional and he said he put his hands on me. I told him not to. I did not question the suspect about the incident while he was escorted to the patrol vehicle. I searched his person once again and I had him sit in the back seat area on the driver's side of the patrol vehicle. While the suspect was in the back seat, I noticed fresh blood on his middle finger. I verbally acknowledged that I saw the blood out loud so that it would be captured on my body-worn camera. I read this and I was like, wow, he made sure police officers they understand what is being caught and what is not being caught on those body cams. Just wanted to make that point. He says, it should also be noted that the suspect asked me, is he going to be okay while he was in the back seat? Now, this sounds like something that is clearly, a situation that is unfortunate. You have here Carmelo Anthony admitting and saying he shouldn't have put his hands on me. I was defending myself. Then in the back of the car, he asked, is Austin Metcalf okay? Now, it also says that in the story that they didn't know each other, but you have to think of it from a perspective of, like, even with adults, you can do something rash to someone in a moment and then afterwards feel sorry. You've seen people knock people out. and then go back and pick them up, dust them off, apologize. Now, when you think about him having this knife, and you have to ask the question, why did the brother have the knife? From what I understand, he comes from a good family. His father is in the home. They live in a community that people say is a prominent community. It's a middle class community. Why would he have a knife? Why would he have a knife? That's the only question. It was a foolish choice to make, a foolish thing to do. But he's asking the police officer, is he okay? Is he okay? You understand? This child, this young man is not a monster. Let's just put that out there. Let's just put that out there. He was put in a position to where he made a choice, and that choice resulted in someone dying. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's all. That's all I see. The note stated an athlete had been stabbed in the chest, was unconscious and not breathing. When I arrived, the crime scene was already marked off and the suspect was in custody. I began asking people if they were witnesses to anything. I made contact with Hunter, that's the brother, and they were both breathing heavily and crying due to the nature of the events. They were with coaches on the field and it was pouring down rain. We made the decision to relocate to a locker room just to the east to get out of the rain. Once in there, things calmed a little bit. However, they were still hysterical and could not really talk. In there, I learned Hunter was the brother of the victim. I attempted to ask them both what had happened. I could not really get anything out of Hunter, but someone stated he wanted to speak. I asked him what happened, and he stated they were all sitting on the bleachers under a Memorial High School tent when another male, who he did not know, walked over and sat under the tent. Then said Austin, who was the victim, told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. After Austin told this male that since he did not go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent, Austin and the male went back and forth, and then Austin stood up and pushed the male to get him out of the tent. Hunter had said during this time of arguing, the male was reaching around in his bag he had. It was at this time that the male took out a knife and stabbed Austin and then left the scene. This was all Hunter remembered when he talked to me. Hunter just exposed that his brother was the aggressor. That's what just happened. That's what we just read. Hunter, the other twin, exposed that his brother Austin physically, first he went back and forth verbally, then physically put his hands on Carmelo. I mean, it's a case of what I see is that this was self-defense. I'm not saying that it's right that Austin was unalive because of this, that he's gone now. But I mean, you don't know the measure that somebody else is going to respond to your personal attack, your physical attack, if you put your hands on people. That's why you should never put your hands on people and allow the proper authorities. Well, in the school setting, they should allow, the teachers, the faculty, the staff to handle that. And we see with Carmelo made a bad decision to carry a knife. And so that is the result. Now, this is definitely self-defense. And I said, if this was two black men, this would not be an issue right now. No one would be talking about it. If it was two white men, no one would be talking about it right now. But because it's a black boy that unalive a white boy, and the media spin pushed so hard for Carmelo being looked at as a criminal and a boy from a bad home and a fatherless child and a thug and all of that, people are angry over it, and then you throw that racial aspect into it, and so this makes for an inflammatory case. This makes for you know, a controversial case. And if we were 40, 50 years back, they would have, white people would have already broken into that jail and lynched Carmelo Anthony. I'm just keeping it a buck with you. I'm keeping it 1,000 because that's how a lot of them feel today. Even with the video with the father saying this is not about race, you should see how many. Of course, I did a video on that. How many white people were angry with the father, calling him a traitor, calling him an idiot, cussing him out, saying he's disrespecting his son by not hating Carmelo Anthony and hating the perpetrator. But the thing is this: like, it's unfortunate, but we see that the brother Hunter is admitting that his brother started to go back and forth with Carmelo Anthony and start to push him while Carmelo Anthony was digging in his bag to get a weapon. Now, let's just say in a different scenario, Carmelo had hit Austin and Austin fell, twisted his ankle, fell and hit his head, and he died that way. Would people still be looking at this case the same way? Because at first it was like people were attacking Carmelo Anthony. Then it came out that it was self-defense, right? But then they raised the bar and they said, well, okay, self-defense, but why does he have a knife at the school? So, you know what I mean? Like, people change and try to find different scenarios and different reasons to be mad over the same thing. Even when some facts are coming out, like this is definitely from the look of that, when you read that, what I just read about what the brother said, and I don't know why they were blacking out his name. They didn't want it to be known he was saying that in that police report. But you can tell from that the brother was clearly the aggressor. Austin Metcalf was clearly the aggressor. Okay, he was clearly the aggressor. You can tell that. That was a case of self-defense. Now, as far as having a knife on school grounds, that's something totally different. But in the realm and in the world of self-defense, we can clearly see and we can clearly come to the conclusion that that was a self-defense case. Now, what happens after, and you know, the knife, I think there's a law with a knife being on the school grounds or something like that. I don't know. I'm not from Texas. I don't know. Y'all tap in, let me know. But it's very, very telling. And in the beginning, we can see that this is a rash decision. It's unfortunate that Carmelo Anthony had a knife and that he didn't just have, you know, some mace or something. It could have been anything else that was less lethal that he could have retaliated with from an attack by Austin Metcalf. But unfortunately, it was, you know, a knife to the heart. But you can see that he protected himself and he was concerned afterwards. There was some regret afterwards. Like you see this all the time when somebody does something to somebody or they get into a fist fight or something, and then there's some regret. Even if the person won, they bested the other person, and you know, they like, you know what, let's shake hands. Listen, man, if you wouldn't have did that to me, man, I wouldn't even have knocked you out. I wouldn't have never did that to you, you know what I mean? It didn't have to go that far. But in this case, unfortunately, Austin Metcalf was already, you know, deceased. So yeah, let me know what y'all think. Give me your thoughts and your opinions. And with that, this is Black Authentic Truth. Peace.